Hello. In this question, we have raw data and we need to choose the correct um, option for a histogram to decide whether this histogram matches in the data. So we have here the data and we have four options. Unfortunately, if you enter this raw data into DIT4 and try to construct a histogram, the histogram will not look exactly like this. It is hard. Plus, it's relative frequency. So we will need to enter this data into list L1 or L2, whatever list you'll use on your TI-84, and then try to construct a histogram. The good news that the shape of a frequency histogram and relative frequency histogram is the same. So let's see how it works. IT4, once you entered your data into list L1, as I did here into list L1, you enter data into list L1 as you see in the question, so you don't need to arrange. But then, with the help of TIT4, you can sort and choose option sort and sort list 1 L1 where your data, maybe your data in list L2, doesn't matter. So now when you look at your list, you can see that the list sorted, which helps you to um, see how many numbers in the interval. So now we have the relative frequency. Relative frequency, it's actually decimal equivalent of percent. So first we need to calculate the frequency for each class. So the classes here the same, as you can see. So the first class from 0.5 to 1.49 and second class from 1.5 to 249 and so on. You can try it by choosing second stat plot. You have to turn stat plot on like this, and if it's off you have to turn it on, and then you have to choose histogram. Here's histogram and list where it's located. So then you have to choose zoom and zoom stat, zoom 9. So that's your histogram, but you can see that this histogram does not remind you, actually it does read from the histograms you can see here. The correct answer, as we can observe, is D. But look at this histogram and at this. First of all, it's relative frequency, but the secret is that the relative frequency histogram and regular histogram have the same shape. So if you create a relative frequency or frequency, it's the same shape, just instead of 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and so on, which again, it's a decimal equivalent of percentage, you will see the number. Interesting fact about histograms that you can use the option trace, and it's the midpoint, and it's the first bar here for histogram minimum 1.2 and 2.566. So that's not what we see here, and that's why. So basically it's combined these two bars. And how to change, you can try to change this by choosing 0.5 x minimum, and for x maximum we have 9.5. We can choose 9.5 or even 10. X scale we have 1. Well, fortunately the calculator doesn't work like this, and so if you choose zoom 9 and try to graph, you see the same situation here. And again, if you do trace, you see that again this window does not want to be safe from what settings you chose. So that's why I'm saying that you can use TIG4 only for the purpose to sort the list, and then it helps you to calculate how many numbers here between 0.5 and 1.5, which is 2, 1.2 and 1.4, when they sort it in from lowest to highest number. 1.5, 2.5, it will be 1.8, 2, 2, 4, 3 of them, and so on. So you create, so midpoint between 0.5 and 1.5 is 1. That's how we create histogram. And midpoint between 1.5 and 2.5, it will be 1.5 plus 2.5, 4 divided by 2, 2, and so on. So you create the midpoints and you calculate the midpoints. That's what is about. And for each of these midpoints, you can count how many data values falls in each interval. So I created this already. This is already relative. So the midpoint for this one is 1, the midpoint for this is 2, the midpoint for this bar is 3, and so on. That's what means. Sometimes midpoints, decimals, doesn't have to be always whole number. But with this all, you can now create a relative histogram by using this option. And you can see that 0 is not even in the picture on TI-84. If you again zoom now graph, you don't see here 0. That's what TI-84 in this case not always convenient way to use. So I would suggest use TI-84 only to enter data, sort it, and then continue working with creating histogram on paper.